Yeah, I mean, comparable. Comparing to the other towns.
Or you get the old one?
I did that, not yet either.
We are not live streaming.
Great on center.
I did that the last meeting. I ran the one. I don't know about it. It's my truck. I did it. I go, man, this is the last time.
Okay, I got 6:27. We'll get started in about 3 minutes. Good evening. How you doing?
Hello, Miss Lee. How are you?
Did I see? No, you there?
Yeah.
Oh, hopefully somebody coming.
Faces it goes. It's gonna make faces it.
No, it's not. Pretend you didn't know. You know, it's kind of embarrassing for
Ask the fire right down there in the center. Good.
Yeah, sure, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
I was there.
That's surprising with the rain and the melt. It's been really cold.
Yeah.
I stare at them.
I see only one presentation. That's all we
Yes.
got, right?
A really good sponsor.
Good evening. Welcome to the work session of the Lancaster Town Board for March 17th, 2025, and happy St. Patrick's Day. This evening, we're going to have one presentation from East Park Commerce. Are you guys here? Is it Tim? Okay.
Just gonna, is this okay if I just set that there? Or do you want me to?
No, we have,
We get, yeah, you can set it up on the easel back there.
yeah, we have an easel if it's easier.
I got this. Yeah. Tim is actually on the road for a project. With me is John McDonald. My name is Alex Amory. I'm with Costage Engineering. We're the civil engineer for the project. Little history on this. NextEra Energy engaged with Uniland regarding purchasing some property at the Eastport Commerce Center. After looking at a couple different sites, they arrived at this one. For your bearings, north is actually up. So this is Eastport Drive, Pleasant Drive here, and there's a 100-foot utility right away. Pavement road would be up at the top of the site. So After entering into a contract to purchase, they ultimately closed on the property late last year. We started working with them on laying out the property. And more recently, we came in, met with town staff to go over the project at a high level. Ultimately, a couple weeks ago, we submitted to the planning board and obviously are before this board for a little introduction to the project. The site itself, there will be a 15,000 square foot pre-engineered metal building, some pavement areas, a covered storage area, and then a gravel laydown yard. One thing to point out, it will be phased. This portion in the back here wouldn't be constructed until the future if they needed it. So this would remain as green space for the time being. Again, I might defer to John if there's specifics, but essentially NextEra is a utility transmission contractor who has a number of projects in the area. As such, they have quite a bit of materials and equipment coming and going. So this site would essentially allow them to store materials as they come in, then they would transport them out to their projects. The site wouldn't be open to the public. Their employees would be the only one accessing it. There will be a fence around the perimeter of the site, a gate that they'll use an electronic entry system for their employees. The building itself is pretty straightforward. They will have some storage in there for equipment. There will be a break room, bathroom, couple offices. Again, there aren't a lot of people at the facility day to day. Typically, either NextEra or some other subcontractors would periodically be coming and going. Couple things to point out. The access is on Eastport Drive. All the utilities are on Eastport Drive. We've done a stormwater analysis. We have both ponds in the front and the back. And the one thing I would point out that you don't really see on here, we will be constructing a fairly substantial earth berm around the perimeter of the project. That will utilize a lot of the topsoil that will be coming off the site. Instead of trucking it all away, we can berm up the perimeter to help mitigate any visual concerns. So we have proposed some landscape, some street trees on Eastport Drive. We've proposed a bunch of evergreen trees at the north end of the project. Obviously, to the west and to the east is the same zoning, which is light industrial is our project, but we do understand on the other side of Pleasant View Drive there is residential. We anticipate, talking through a lot of that detail with the planning board. I know they had another recent project. I think it's kind of a mixed-use warehouse project that's up at Pleasant View and Pavement Road up there. So
Correct.
We have received some preliminary comments from the town code enforcement. We've gone through them. They're all items that we would be comfortable working with the planning board and the code officer on. So I think at that point, without getting into too many planning board detailed items, we'd be, happy to answer questions. So.
What is going to be stored in there? Is there anything we have to worry about that's going to be a fire hazard or anything like that?
No, we're not going to store any oil or any fuels there. It's going to be a breaker that'll be evacuated, and we need the indoor space for environmental control. But there's nothing stored there that's hazardous.
Okay. Town board, any questions?
I see you're in and out there on the parkway there. The current and any future, you do not anticipate any ingress, egress onto Pleasant View?
No other access.
Lower left-hand side where that green goes over, what is that?
There will actually be an outfall from the pond. So,
Describe what an outfall is, please.
sorry.
Describe what an outfall is, please.
So as part of the SWIP, the stormwater pollution, we have to evaluate and attenuate any of the runoff. Currently, there's kind of a high point in the site, which is right about here. So some of the water is going in that direction, which will be collected in the pond, and the outfall will discharge it at a controlled rate.
Okay, discharge it where?
There's currently a swale that runs along Pleasant View Drive.
Okay, it's
It
not
will
go-
discharge on the top or through a pipe?
Both. It's actually a concrete weir with a pipe. So what it does is, for different storm intervals, as the water goes up in the pond, it lets it out at a controlled rate. That's not only a DEC requirement, but we're aware the town also has a requirement. We have to take a 100-year storm and cut it back to a 10-year storm, so Lancaster's actually further ahead than, what the state requires, so
Okay,
that's,
is it going to end up on Pleasant View Road, or is it going to be controlled to the point where it won't end up there?
it'll follow a swale which goes to the bottom of the page.
Are there residents on the other side?
There's a driveway. I think they're relatively new in the last,
Any comment on that, Matt? Again, we don't want the water flowing onto Pleasant View Drive.
Again, it's going to be discharged into a county roadside swale, and it'll be discharged at a rate lower than, well, the 10-year pre-construction rate.
Yeah,
It's designed to hold the 100-year post-construction rate.
Okay, thank you.
if there's some sort of sometimes historic issue with a certain drainage area, we can work with the town. If the highway department or someone says, they have an issue, we can always bring more of it to Eastport.
Historically, is that swale usually cleaned regularly?
It is.
Yeah,
Is it?
I've not known of any issues with that swale at
Okay.
all from the county.
All right, just wanted to make sure our stormwater is going where it needs to go. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay, we're going to go around the room with our department heads who are here, some of whom I may not be able to see in the back, but we're going to start in the front. Emily, you got anything for us tonight?
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay, Diane?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Ed?
Just real quick, library wrapped up. I just got an email today with some photos. They finally got the last of the accessories in there, so that should be done.
Okay.
The New York Forward for the Town Hall Opera House, we're coordinating the drone. It was either going to be today or tomorrow. I think tomorrow being the better weather day, I think that's what their plan is,
Okay.
to get that for SHPO. Working on the capital planning projects that we met on. Update on Siebert, just that everyone keeps asking. It's at DOT for the last round. I've urged them to move it along, and they understand. I want that under construction this year, and that's what they're working towards. Turf field, still hammering out the power requirements. We should have that done within a week or so that'll have to go out to bid, so we can get quotes on.
Okay, so we're going to have a price beforehand?
Yes, yeah.
All right.
Yep, yeah.
And who are we paying this money to? NYSEG?
No,
the-
no, it'll be a contractor once we get the specs and.
From NYSEG?
Yeah, NYSEG is working with an electrical contractor right now, putting the specs together. So once we have all that, then we can put that out and get actual costs from contractors for the
Okay,
work.
but we want to talk to NYSEG first.
Yeah, so once we have the final scope, then we can have a discussion on what
Okay.
they're looking for. And that is about it right now.
Okay. Matt?
I failed to obtain a delivery date for our cabinets. We had some back-ordered issues. They're due to arrive at the facility or at the installer's yard at some point today, but I did not drill down as to our install date, so just to keep you up to date there. I will be discussing with our town attorney's office the recently updated applications for both the site plan review and subdivision applications. Several copies had gone to the board for any comments in the last few months. I believe it's pretty urgent that we get this looked at and acknowledged sooner than later. We're 4 years past our comp plan update. We're needing to incorporate our subdivision regulations into the application process. We're reducing the number of copies necessary for the applicants to submit, and we're requiring an electronic copy as well. I'm urging this board to, if you need updated copies, I'm happy to get them to you, but they're through email communications, and again, I'm working with our town attorney's office to get through that and have those adopted so that we can utilize those as applications, the formal application rather than the antiquated versions.
Okay.
See, we were able to accomplish 18 fire inspections in the last 14 days. It's a significant increase from what we've recently seen here, where we're having a concerted effort on addressing those so that we could service our community. And this Wednesday, I'll be attending a recently, renewed code enforcement roundtable with the Erie County Clerk's Office on their zombie property task force. It had gone dormant for a little while. But they've revived that, and I'm looking forward to participating in that as a municipality.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nick?
Good evening. Nick Swanson, Director of Administration and Finance. On the admin side of things, we're working hard on open enrollment, getting everything put together. We have an employee benefits fair coming up April 7th. The new plan year starts May 1st, so a lot of updates, a lot of changes. I want to make sure everybody's aware of the benefits that are offered for them. On the payroll side of things, we're working hard with Paychex, meeting regularly. We're right close to the finish line. Few minor programming tweaks, and I think we'll be set up. It's incredible to see a year ago at this time, 100% of our departments were manually filling out paper timesheets. Now we have only one department that is doing it. So it's come a long way, certainly. Been a tough process. On the finance side of things, the check run is slightly larger this week, and that's because of the fire protection contracts that are going out, roughly $4 million going to our fire departments, 4 of them. And we have just closed the books for both January and February.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ron?
Good evening. I wanted to update everybody to make sure the entire board is aware of where we sit with the LVAC contract. So back in January of 23rd, they were sent a proposed contract. Myself, Jennifer from the attorney's office had been working on that. On the 29th of January, we received comments back from their attorney. Nothing that we thought was too bad. And then we had a conference call with their attorney on February 6th. In LVAC's response to the proposed contract, they had stated that they had an arrangement with another ambulance service to backfill, which is one of our main concerns. So after that February 6th conference call with their attorney, we requested a meeting with LVAC and that ambulance service to discuss what the plan was. February 28th, we still haven't heard anything from C on that. When it was requested, what's going on with this, we're kind of waiting on them. They stated they sent an email to this company and they hadn't heard back. So then on March 3rd, they said that that company was reviewing a tentative agreement and that they'd get back to us after that. So our concern was, well, in their response to the proposed contract, they said they had an arrangement. And now they don't, or they didn't have any type of arrangements. They're still trying to review one and put one together. So currently the holdup right now is with LVAC providing that backup plan and something that's acceptable to the town, and then coming up with an adequate number or a way to adequately respond to requests for service. So that's kind of the holdup. To me, and it may be a personal opinion, They really do seem to be more concerned about their other coverage areas than they do just with the town, which is a little frustrating because the town, and including the villages, is 70 to 75% of their call volume. So, we're waiting to hear back on that. I've spoken with several professionals in the ambulance service field. I believe we might have a different matrix to use instead of just number of ambulances. So I'm still trying to run some numbers and come up with an idea if that's something we can talk with LVEC about and they would be agreeable to. From the beginning of the year, where I'm frustrated is, when we first signed that 6-month contract, LVAC was against the 6-month contract, stating they only needed 5 days to come up with an agreement. So here we are 3 months into a 6-month extension, and we're no closer than we were in January. So I'm a little frustrated and concerned by that. I'm not panicking yet, but my biggest issue is if we just can't work this out and we need to go with another service, it's going to take time, number one, to get another service, and number two, for that service to spin up services to cover the town. So again, I'm not panicking, but I am concerned.
Are we able to prompt them, such as put together a backfill program for them and say, this is what we feel is acceptable?
They know what the town wants or what will be acceptable to the town as far as making sure that we have a backfill plan. We are never going to get 100% ambulance coverage. It's just not possible to do in today's EMS world, but we should be able to get very close to that. So they know what's expected, what the town expects, and now it's just them working with other services to be able to do that. Again, they originally said that they had an arrangement, and now we found out that they really don't. So still waiting to hear back from them. As far as prompting them, there will be another email going out requesting that meeting. And then the only other, short of that, sit down with the attorney's office and then just send another proposal. This is what the town wants, and are you able to fill it? But again, my concern is it's going to take a couple months at least for any other service to spin up, and I need time to try and put that together if they're not going to be able to fulfill it.
Any questions?
Sure, most are aware, a large house fire today on Central Avenue. Bowmansville did a great job with what they had to work with and all the other mutual aid companies. And I know the police are working on their investigation as far as that goes now.
Okay. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you.
Is there anybody else in the back? Department heads I can't see?
John Potter.
Oh, come on up, John.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, the sun's shining, so thank God. That means we're not salting. When the sun comes out in the springtime, we start looking at our roads, and that's what we're doing. The past several weeks, we've distinguished, putting a plan together on resurfacing. We've identified Lake Avenue, Plum Creek, Jenny Lane, Village on the Park. We want to finish Village on the Park. We started it last year. Sagebrush, then the southern portion of Enchanted Forest so far. When we identify these streets, that means that the street trees need to be pruned, and that sets off a lot of phone calls from residents. It's a necessary evil. You have to raise these trees because when this equipment comes down, it destroys them. We've fielded probably 20 phone calls in the past week. I understand where people come from on it. I love it that they love their trees. I love the trees too. But we've teamed up with Parks and Rec, and we're knocking streets off left and right. They're doing a great job too. So if you guys get any phone calls, it is a necessary evil. We have to do it. Hoping to get started mid to late May on these roads. I'll have more info coming at future meetings. Just let the town know, now that the sun's out, we will have brush crews out daily, and going to get back to normal activity soon.
Okay, great.
Okay? Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else back there, John?
I think we're good.
Okay. Chief?
Good evening. So a couple updates, just to kind of piggyback off what Ron was already saying. From the police end, we are working on our part to go along with this whole LVAC situation. We are currently in the process of canvassing for a senior public safety dispatcher as part of what we committed to do to help enhance the public safety aspect of it with this, the new emergency medical dispatching that we're anticipating. Unfortunately, we're about a month behind where we anticipated being, unfortunately, with the loss of an officer. That kind of set us back a little bit. But we're in the current process of canvassing for that position, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we will have a candidate at least potentially selected for filling that role. We will then be implementing another position, or backfilling that position in the dispatch center to make sure that they don't run short in there as well. As Ron said, you know, our detectives and fire investigators, fire departments are still actively up on Central Avenue working that house fire. It is still, from the last report I have, it is still not fully extinguished, so they are actively working on making sure that they can get that extinguished before our investigators make entry to try to determine what actually happened there. Dog control end, they did finally get their new vehicle. It's currently in the process of being upfitted, getting new graphics put on it. We're looking at some options for cages for the dogs and everything, and some new equipment that's needed to put into that vehicle. So that's what I have right now.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, town board, anything for the work session at this point?
No. Just going to say we'll start drainage committee again, beginning in April.
Okay. First meeting?
First meeting.
Okay. All right, we're going to start the regular meeting at 7 o'clock, so we're going to take a short little break here, and we'll be back. Thank you.
The live stream stays on. I'm so comfortable. I can't hear you.
on this year. First year I didn't. Have any trees left around it. I was shocked. It iced over and iced it out. Yeah, I looked in there. A couple of leaves, it's crystal clear. Yeah.
Once the sun starts to come in,
Yeah.
you gotta freeze it.
Took the skimmers and some leaves off the top.
You have to brush the cover to get the algae off.
Yeah.
Keep it clean.
Yeah.
And you're pulling the thing in the air.
A lot of gas to heat it up. The water's gonna be mighty cold, I know that. It's frozen pretty good. I pump some water out so I can pump the skimmer right now. Like table saw this weekend. Holy crap.
Oh, you brought it home, or you brought it.
I brought it home. Wow. Took a few of us to get it on and off the truck. I tell you, it's like 300 pounds. It's cast iron. I don't know. I haven't. Well, we ran it before she bought it. It's nice. It's a crisp. Good brand. Good saw. It's got a 220 plug on it. I went online. I convert that to 110. I convert that first. Tell you what, her stuff's all small. It's really,
Yeah. No, sorry.
Okay, we gotta start at 7, all right? I don't know if Melissa's gonna make it back or not. So, the bathroom. Good evening, welcome to the town board meeting for 3/17/2025, St. Patrick's Day. Diane, we're going to wait a second for Melissa to come back for the roll. Yeah, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. She's the other. She's the person doing it. So okay, we were close.
The door's not locked, is it?
No, I didn't lie.
There you go. Welcome back.
Okay, Diane, roll call, please.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Here.
Councilmember Dickman.
Here.
Councilmember Schroeder.
Here.
Councilmember Studley. Here. Supervisor Leary.
Here. This evening, the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation is done by Councilmember Studley.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Just a reminder that as we gather here today, that we are here to work together towards the best interests of everybody in the town.
Thank you. Okay, this evening, we're going to have 23 pre-filed resolutions. We're going to have one public hearing, which will start approximately 7:05, and then we're going to have an executive session with 3 different topics of discussion, 2 for personnel, 1 for contracts. We close in memory tonight of Noah Whitmore, which is the young man that was killed on March 11th, 2025, here in Lancaster. And we also close in memory of Dick Young, obviously a well-known local great guy. Just so you know, there is a GoFundMe page for Noah Whitmore, if anybody's looking to donate to the family. Okay. Okay. And at this point in time, we're going to, because there's only a couple of minutes till 7:05, we're going to go around the town board and do the official reports and the reports of town board committees. Anybody have anything?
I have a report from LVAC.
Okay, go ahead.
LVAC submitted their monthly report to me to read. Their total calls for the last month were 390. ALS calls were 246 with 214 transports. Basic life support calls were 111 with 90 transports and 33 cancellations. Their average response time from notification to arrival on the scene to the town of Lancaster was 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Their staffing, we hired 1 per diem medic and 1 per diem advanced EMT, currently looking to hire 1 more full-time medic. We created and filled a scheduler position. Their responsibility is handling all aspects of scheduling. Their staffing levels have stayed the same as previously reported. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 5 ambulances are in service during peak hours. Weekends, Saturday and Sunday, 4 ambulances are in service during peak hours. And weeknights, 3 ambulances are in service overnight every night.
Okay.
That's it.
Anybody else have any committee reports at this point? Or official reports? Okay, nothing at this point. Okay. All right, we got about 2 minutes here, but I'm not going to get into addressing the town board for the pre-filed resolutions. I will tell the people here tonight who want to be heard about the Boys and Girls Club that the first part of this is for the pre-filed resolutions. After we go through our normal pre-filed resolutions and our communications and our one public hearing, then there'll be a second opportunity where you can talk about anything that you want to, address the town board with anything that you want. Okay? So the first part, again, is just for the pre-filed resolutions. And now we have less than 30 seconds. No, we can't start early. We gotta wait till 7:05.
So by the time you're done reading it, it's 7:05.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna get started right here in a couple of seconds. Okay, we have a public hearing tonight, special use permit for Catco, located 1266 Town Line Road. The legal states, Town of Lancaster, notice of public hearing on application for a special use permit, approval to operate contractor yard for construction services located at 1266 Town Line Road, SBL number 95.00-3-16, Alden, New York. Legal notice is hereby given that pursuant to the authority set forth in Chapter 400 zoning, Article 14, Administration and Enforcement, Section 400-78, Special Use Permits of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, and pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster on the 3rd day of March, 2025, the said Town Board will hold a public hearing on the 17th day of March, today, at 7:05 p.m. Local time, right here at Town Hall, 21 Central Avenue, for the purposes of considering and possibly approving a special use permit application to operate a contractor yard for construction services located at 1266 Town Line Road. Copies of the proposed application can be reviewed at Town Hall. Do we have anybody here this evening? Oh, can we have a motion to go into the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And on the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
All right, now we're going into the public hearing. Is there anybody here who wants to be heard on this public hearing tonight regarding this special use permit for Catco at 1266 Town Line Road? Please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing no hands raised at this point, not missing anybody back there, am I? No? Okay, so we don't have anybody who wants to be heard on this particular public hearing. Have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Yeah, second?
Second.
On the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our pre-filed resolutions. Persons who want to address the town board on any pre-filed or suspended resolution only. The town board will hear the concerns of persons desiring to address the town board on any pre-filed or proposed suspended resolutions for a total period of 30 minutes. The procedure is to raise your hand and be recognized by the supervisor, give your name and address to the town clerk, speak directly to the town board members, not the audience, using the microphone provided, and speak once for 5 minutes or less unless the town board grants a speaker an extension of this time limit. Is there anybody here tonight who wants to be heard on the pre-filed resolutions? We have 23 of them. Okay. Again, seeing no hands raised, we're going to move on to our actual pre-filed resolutions. Okay, resolution number 1 is mine. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the town board held March 3rd, 2025 be and are hereby affirmed. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Resolution number 2, be it resolved that the following audited claims be and are hereby ordered paid from their respective accounts as per abstract to be filed in the office of the town clerk by the supervisor's office, to wit, check run number 03172-025, total amount hereby authorized to be paid, $5,153,833.14. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Councilmember Dickman, number 3, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Honorable Board, I offer Resolution 3 for your adoption. Resolved that the following building permit applications be and are hereby reaffirmed. This month, we have a total of 36. There's 28 in the town and 8 in the village. Now therefore, be it resolved that the building permit applications coded CSW for a conditional sidewalk waiver be and are hereby reaffirmed with the waiver of the town ordinance required for sidewalks. However, the waiver is granted upon the express condition that the town of Lancaster, any future date, reserves the right to order sidewalk installation at the expense of the property owner.
Do we have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Resolution number 4, whereas a vacancy exists in the town of Lancaster Supervisor's Office for the position of payroll supervisor, and whereas this vacancy was properly posted in all departments of the town of Lancaster, and according to the Erie County Department of Personnel, there is currently no active list of eligible candidates for the position of payroll supervisor. Therefore, the town must make a provisional appointment to the position until a list of eligible candidates becomes available. And whereas Supervisor Robert Leary has recommended the appointment of Lindsay Martin to the position of part-time payroll supervisor in the town of Lancaster Supervisor's Office. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the following individual is hereby appointed to the following part-time provisional position in the town of Lancaster Supervisor's Office, working not more than 19 and a half hours per week, being contingent upon approval by the Erie County Department of Personnel and successful completion of the Erie County Civil Service Examination, and that this being a part-time position provides no health insurance, sick days, vacations, or other fringe benefits not specifically mandated for part-time temporary employees. And Lindsay Martin will be making $32.46 an hour. Be it further resolved that the supervisor of the town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? Okay. So, you know, unfortunately, our payroll supervisor left. Lindsay's been working in the supervisor office for quite a while. She has the experience from payroll at one of her previous jobs to take over the payroll position, and that's why we're moving forward with her after posting at this time. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Resolution number 5. Whereas on January 16, 2024, the Town Board of Lancaster approved local law number 2 of 2024, establishing a one-year moratorium on applications, approvals, and construction of commercial residential development. and whereas Section 4 of the local law states that the term of the moratorium may be extended if necessary by approval of the town board, and whereas an additional extension until April 30th, 2025 is required on the moratorium to allow adequate time for Type 1 seeker review, mailing of notices to property owners, and a full comprehensive review of the proposed local laws by the Lancaster Planning and Town Board. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board approves an extension on the moratorium until April 30th, 2025, in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the town of Lancaster and to maintain the status quo as to certain commercial residential developments in the town. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder.
Yes.
Councilmember Studley.
Yes.
Supervisor Leary.
Yes. Councilmember Dickman, number 6, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Honorable Board, I offer Resolution 6 for adoption. Whereas the town line volunteer fire department by email received March 4th, 2025 has requested the deletion of one member from its active roster of the Fire Association. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby deletes from the membership of the town line volunteer fire department the following individual: Alexis Grassi.
And do we have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder.
Yes.
Councilmember Studley.
Yes.
Supervisor Leary.
Yes. Resolution number 7. Be it resolved that a public hearing before the town board of the town of Lancaster and the county of Erie shall be held at the Lancaster Town Hall, 21 Central Avenue, Lancaster, New York, on the 7th of April, 2025 at 7:05 p.m. for the purpose of hearing all persons interested in the proposed local law number 1 of the year 2025, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to publish a notice of public hearing in the Lancaster Bee designated by the town as its official newspaper for this publication and be posted on the town bulletin board with such publication to be not less than 10 days before the date of the public hearing. Post as required by law one copy of the notice of public hearing no later than the day such notice is published, and notify by mail all parties of interest pursuant to the general municipal law and the town law of public hearing not less than 10 days before the date of the public hearing. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is to make copies of the proposed local law number 1 of the year 2025 entitled Chapter 400 Zoning, available at her office for inspection and distribution to any interested person during business hours. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder.
Yes.
Councilmember Studley.
Yes.
Supervisor Leary.
Yes. Resolution number 8. Now therefore be it resolved that a public hearing before the town board of the town of Lancaster and the county of Erie shall be held at the Lancaster Town Hall on the 7th of April, 2025 at 7:05 p.m. for the purpose again of hearing all persons interested in the proposed local law number 2 of the year 2025, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to publish notice of public hearing in the Lancaster Bee, post as required by law one copy of the notice of public hearing no later than the day such notice is published, and notified by mail all parties of interest pursuant to the general municipal law and the town law of public hearing, not less than 10 days before the date of the public hearing. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is to make copies of the proposed local law number 2 of the year 2025 entitled A Local Law Rezoning Parcels in the Town of Lancaster, available at her office for inspection and distribution to any interested persons during business hours. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder.
Yes.
Councilmember Studley.
Yes.
Supervisor Leary.
Yes. Resolution number 9. Now therefore be it resolved that a public hearing before the town of Lancaster in the county of Erie shall be held at Lancaster Town Hall on the 7th day of April 2025 for the purpose of hearing all persons interested in the proposed local law number 3 of the year 2025. Be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to publish a notice of public hearing in the Lancaster Bee not less than 10 days before the date of the public hearing. B, post as required by law one copy of the notice of public hearing no later than the day such notice is published, and notify by mail all parties of interest pursuant to the general municipal law and the town law of public hearing not less than 10 days before the date of the public hearing, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is to make copies of the proposed local law number 3 of the year 2025 entitled "A Local Law Amending Section 258, Articles 1 and 2 as it relates to the setting of fees available at her office for inspection and distribution to any interested persons during business hours." Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Resolution number 10, whereas the town of Lancaster is soliciting sealed proposals from qualified firms to provide professional assessment, support, and valuation services as part of a town-wide reassessment project for the town of Lancaster, including both the villages of Depew and Lancaster, to be completed for the 2026 roll year. And whereas the town board of the town of Lancaster has decided to issue a request for proposals to solicit responses from qualified firms to provide professional assessment, support, and valuation services. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby request proposals from qualified firms to provide professional assessment, support, and valuation services as part of a town-wide reassessment project for the town of Lancaster, including both the villages of Depew and Lancaster, to be completed for the 2026 roll year with a complete RFP that will be available on March 18, 2025 at the town of Lancaster's office of the town clerk, located here at 21 Central Avenue, and available on the town of Lancaster website. All proposals for consideration must be submitted to the office of the town clerk no later than 10 a.m. local time on April 17th, 2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
No.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Okay. Resolution number 11. Whereas the town board is considering the proposed expansion of the parking lot at the east end in connection to Freeman Road submitted by J.H. Patel, applicant for Spring Hill Suites, on a 3.8-acre parcel located at 6647 Transit Road, SBL number 82.03-1-84 in the town of Lancaster, and whereas the town of Lancaster Planning Board has reviewed the environmental impact of this project pursuant to seeker regulations at their meetings on March 5th, 2025, and recommended a negative declaration be issued, and whereas the town board has duly considered the plans for the project using the short environmental assessment form criteria for determining significance set forth in 6 New York CRR Section 617.7C of the State Environmental Quality Review Act regulations and such other information deemed appropriate, including the recommendation of the Town of Lancaster Planning Board, and whereas the Town Board has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern, has taken a hard look at these areas, and has made a reasoned elaboration of the basis for its determination, and whereas the proposed action has been labeled an unlisted action under seeker, now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster that 1, this project is described as the proposed expansion of the parking lot at the east end in connection to Freeman Road, located at 6647 Transit Road, will not result in any large and important environmental impacts, and therefore will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment. 2, the reasons supporting this determination are set forth on the attached notice of determination of non-significance with respect to this project. 3, the town board as lead agency with reference to the above described action hereby adopts the attached negative declaration of environmental significance. 4, the town clerk shall file a copy of the negative declaration in the file for the project. 5, the town attorney's office shall prepare and file a notice of determination with the petitioner and with all required New York State and Erie County agencies filing a copy of the letter of transmittal. And 6, this resolution is effective immediately. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's odd.
Yeah.
Next one.
It's different on here. You want to go ahead and read it, or you want me to do
Sure.
it? Okay.
Mark, is that okay with you?
I think they put her name on there, it's supposed to be yours.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
Who wants to read it? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move Resolution Number 12. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster has reviewed a memorandum of agreement which has been reached between the negotiating teams representing the Town of Lancaster and the Civil Service Employees Association, CSEA, Local 1000, AFS-CME, FLCIO, Local 8115, Town of Lancaster Highway Unit 6763, regarding a grievance filed by the Town of Lancaster highway employee. And whereas the Town of Lancaster and the CSEA are parties to a collective bargaining agreement, CBA, covering the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2025, and whereas the parties have discussed the grievance filed by the employee in regard to wages when working out of class and have agreed to the terms and conditions set forth as a one-time, non-precedent memorandum of agreement with a payment of $334.08 to be paid within 3 weeks following the execution of said agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby authorizes the Town Supervisor to execute on behalf of the Town of Lancaster the memorandum of agreement by and between the Town of Lancaster and the Civil Service Employees Association is as presented.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
On the question? Okay, I took a look at this MOA, and basically it says in there that the union is going to work with us on some wording that wasn't properly, couldn't be explained. It was not clear what it meant, so I have no problem with this, since the union is going to work with us on changing the language in the contract. On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Okay, resolution number 13. Whereas ESG Properties of Western New York LLC, Nick Halliday, submitted an application on December 16, 2024 for a special use permit for a soil recycling facility located at 6125 Genesee Street, SBL number 95.00-1-1 in the town of Lancaster, New York. And whereas Chapter 400 Zoning, Article 14, Administration and Enforcement, Section 400-78, Special Use Permits of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires that the Town Board conduct a public hearing before the issuance of a special use permit for a use as proposed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to Section 400-78 of the Zoning Code of the Town of Lancaster, a public hearing on the proposed special use permit for the soil recycling facility located on Genesee Street in the town of Lancaster will be held at Town Hall, right here, 21 Central Avenue, at 7:05 p.m. local time on April the 7th, 2025, and that notice of said time and place of such hearing be published in the official newspaper of general circulation in the town and be posted on the town bulletin board, and that a copy of such notice of hearing be referred to the Erie County Department of Planning pursuant to Section 239M of the General Municipal Law, which notice shall be in the form attached hereto and made a part hereof. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, number 14, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Board. I offer Resolution 14 for adoption. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster has reviewed a memorandum of agreement which has been reached between the negotiating teams representing the Town of Lancaster and the CSEA regarding amending Article 5, Section 9 of the collective bargaining agreement. Whereas the Town of Lancaster and the CSEA are parties to a CBA covering the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2025. And whereas the parties seek to amend Article 5, Section 9 of the CBA, adding the following language. An applicant will be permitted to retroactively apply and utilize time from the sick leave bank upon approval. Retroactive use of sick leave may not exceed a year prior to application, provided that the applicant has exhausted all his or her regular accrued vacation time, accrued sick time, and comp time earned as of the date of entering the sick bank retroactively. Whereas after due review and consideration, the Town Board deems it in the Town of Lancaster interest to ratify the MOA between the Town of Lancaster and the CSEA. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby authorizes the Town Supervisor to execute on behalf of the Town of Lancaster the memorandum of agreement by and between the Town of Lancaster and the CSEA.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, on the question, On this one, I'm going to vote no. That language that in there is great, but it only applies to the retroactive application. There was nothing from the union that I heard that said they would change the permanent wording in the other section of the contract. So I'm going to be voting no on that, but that's why I'm doing it. Anybody else question? Okay. All right, on the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
No.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
No. Okay. Councilmember Schroeder, number 15, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move resolution number 15, whereas it is in the public interest to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Erie for assistance in funding the purchase of a bingo machine for the Lancaster Senior Center, which will benefit the residents of the town of Lancaster. And whereas the attorney for the town of Lancaster, along with the County of Erie, have negotiated and prepared an intermunicipal agreement setting forth the terms and conditions of said agreement in which the county shall reimburse the town of Lancaster in the amount not to exceed $13,500 for the purchase of the bingo machine. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute an intermunicipal agreement between the town of Lancaster and the county of Erie, allowing the county to reimburse the town for an amount not to exceed $13,500 for the purchase of a bingo machine for the Lancaster Senior Center, and 2, that the town attorney will distribute and execute copies of said agreement to the appropriate parties.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, number 16, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board. I'm offering Resolution 16 for adoption. Whereas John Pilato, Highway Superintendent of the Town of Lancaster, by letter dated March 5th, 2025, has requested the purchase of 2 new and unused 2025 Chevy Silverados 2500 heavy-duty four-wheel drive double cab work trucks for use by the Highway Department. Whereas the above referenced vehicles are available from Joe Basil Chevrolet Transit Road, Depew, and will be purchased on Erie County bid 240059-004, which will eliminate the need for competitive bidding pursuant to Section 103 of General Municipal Law. And whereas the cost per vehicle is $52,020 for a total cost of $104,040, with the option to trade or auction the 2020 Ford F-250. And whereas John Pilato has also requested the purchase of 2 new and unused Fisher 8-foot 6-inch snow plows with accessories for the use by the Highway Department. And whereas the above referenced snow plows with accessories are available from Kaminsky & Son Truck Equipment, Lewis Street, Buffalo, New York, and we purchased on Erie County bid number 230084-004, which will eliminate the need for competitive bidding pursuant to Section 103 of the General Municipal Law. And whereas the total cost of the 2 new and unused Fisher snow plows with accessories is $22,480. And whereas both the purchase of the trucks and the snow plows will be paid for from the highway budget line 13-5110-0220, passenger vehicles, with an additional funds coming from the trade-in or previously auctioned equipment. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby approves the purchase of 2 new and unused 2025 Silverado 25 heavy-duty trucks and 2 new and unused Fisher plows with accessories, and will be purchased from the Erie County bid 240059-004 and 230084-004, and from the passenger vehicle line, with addition funds coming from the trade-in or previously auctioned equipment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Resolution number 17, whereas Judge David S. Stabler, Town Justice for the Town of Lancaster, by letter dated March 11, 2025, has recommended the appointment of Harvey Frankel of Lancaster, New York, to fill the open position of Court Officer Part-Time Permanent for the Town of Lancaster Justice Court. And whereas pursuant to New York State Civil Service Law, the position of court officer has been duly canvassed by the Town of Lancaster Justice Court, Now therefore be it resolved that the following individual is hereby appointed to the following part-time permanent position in the Town of Lancaster Justice Court, working not more than 19.5 hours per week, being contingent upon approval by the Erie County Department of Personnel, and that this being a part-time position provides no health insurance, sick days, vacation, or other fringe benefits not specifically mandated for part-time temporary employees. And again, Harvey Frankel, hourly rate is $23.17, effective date March 20th, 2025. Be it further resolved that the supervisor of the Town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Councilmember Dickman, number 18, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Honorable Board, I offer Resolution 18 for adoption. Whereas Jonathan Zeiter is Administrative Captain for the Town of Lancaster Police Department, by letter dated March 10, 2025, has requested the purchase of 3 new advanced electronic design Rhino Tab MDT to replace the unserviceable Panasonic Toughbooks that are used as mobile data terminals in the patrol vehicles. And whereas the above referenced Rhino Tabs will be purchased from Patrol PC, a division of Advanced Electronic Design in Massachusetts, sole provider of Rhino Tabs MDT, and whereas the cost per unit is $5,906.75 for a total cost not to exceed $17,720.23 per their quote dated February 19, 2025, being paid for from the police line public safety equipment. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby approves the purchase of 3 new advanced electronic design Rhino Tab MDTs from the sole source provider Patrol PC for amount not to exceed $17,720.23, which will be paid through the police line budget public safety equipment.
Hang on, sir. Should be 25 cents.
Instead of 23.
Okay. I'll change it to $17,720.25.
Okay. We have a second.
Second.
On the question. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, number 19, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Board. I offer Resolution 19 for adoption. Whereas Niacom Holdings LLC, Transit Road, Suite 2, Williamsville, a local provider of fiber optic internet service, desires the ability to facilitate and maintain telecommunication facilities within the public rights-of-way for the purpose of providing telecommunication services within the Town of Lancaster. And whereas the Town of Lancaster desires to encourage fiber optic cable infrastructure investment by providing a fair and predictable process for the deployment of such equipment while enabling the Town of Lancaster to promote the management of its public rights-of-way in the overall interests of the public health, safety, and welfare. And whereas after due review and consideration of the Town of Lancaster deems it in the public's interest to enter into a rights-of-way use agreement with Niacom Holdings for the purpose of providing telecommunications services within the Town of Lancaster. Now therefore it be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby authorizes the Town Supervisor Robert Leary to execute the rights-of-way use agreement with Niacom Holdings to facilitate and maintain telecommunication facilities within the public's right-of-way for the purpose of providing telecommunication services within the Town of Lancaster.
Do we have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Councilmember Dickman, number 20, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Board. I offer Resolution 20 for adoption. Whereas Jonathan Zeiter is Administrative Captain for the Town of Lancaster Police Department, by letter dated of March 11, 2025, has requested the purchase of 3 ballistic shields to replace the current expired ballistic shields for use by the Lancaster Police Department. And whereas the ballistic shields will be purchased through the approved state contract vendor, Body Armor Law Enforcement Award Number 23227, contract period 10/1/2021 through 9/30/26, Federal Eastern International, Jacksonville, Florida, which will eliminate the need for competitive bidding pursuant to the general municipal law. and whereas the cost for 3 ballistic shields is not to exceed $24,976, further quote dated 2/28/2025, with $14,000 being paid from budget line public safety equipment, and the remaining $10,976 being paid from the police asset forfeiture budget line public safety equipment. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby approves the purchase of 3 ballistic shields from the approved state contract vendor, Federal Eastern International, for a total not to exceed $24,976.
Okay, do we have a second
Second.
on the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Resolution number 21, be it resolved that Jonathan James Shaw of Lancaster, New York, be and is hereby nominated as the town of Lancaster's official representative to the Erie County Environmental Management Council. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Erie County Department of Environment and Planning. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Resolution number 22, whereas Brad Mutter, applicant, submitted an application for United Rentals container storage for the proposed stone gravel lot to store empty, clean, and unrented storage containers on approximately 7.34 acre parcel located at 2 Benzel Court, SBL number 105-00-1-16.2, in the town of Lancaster, as prepared by Carmino Wood Design, containing a site plan dated 10/22/24, and another one dated 10/22/24. Not mine. Okay. C200 dated 12/3/24, C201 dated 12/3/24, L-100 dated 2/17/25, received by the town of Lancaster's Building Department, and whereas the town, acting as lead agency, duly considered the request for the project, including the recommendation of the town of Lancaster Planning Board in conformance with seeker regulations, and on January 21st, 2025, the town board issued a negative declaration, and whereas the planning board recommended to the town board on February 19th, 2025, the approval of the site plan as submitted and in conformance with town building and zoning codes. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby approves the site plan submitted by United Rentals Container Storage at 2 Benzel Court, prepared by Carmino Wood Design, containing drawings listed previously in this resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Studley?
Yes.
Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Resolution number 23, whereas the town board of the town of Lancaster has held a public hearing on March 3rd, 2025, pursuant to Chapter 400 Zoning, Administration, and Enforcement, Section 400-78 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster entitled Special Use Permits, upon the application of United Rentals Container Storage to operate a trailer sales rental location at 2 Benzel Court in the town of Lancaster, and whereas Matt Fiscione, Code Enforcement Officer, has agreed to the approval of the special use permit with conditions, now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Chapter 400 Zoning, Light Industrial District, LI, Section 400-20 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster does hereby grant United Rentals Container Storage a special use permit to operate a trailer sales rental for the storage of empty, clean, and unrented containers on premises located at 2 Benzel Court, upon the conditions as set forth in the zoning ordinance, and the following conditions for the period beginning on March 17th, 2025, and ending March 16th, 2027. Number one, permit must be renewed every 2 years at no additional cost to the applicant. Renewal request is considered upon the property owner applying to the town clerk on or before March 15th, 2027. 2, applicant will authorize representatives from the building inspector's office to enter the premises upon reasonable notice to inspect the premises to verify compliance with this permit. 3, applicant will obtain and provide proof of a valid New York State business license from the appropriate regulatory agency for the service being provided. 4, screening must be provided for items stored outdoors as shown on the approved site plan. 5, processing and servicing of the rental units is to be conducted in a controlled environment and not in the outdoor yard area. 6, storage of clean and empty rental units and portable sanitation units stored in compliance to light industrial district standards, Chapter 400-20, C, Schedule B, 7, stacking of the containers will start at the east and move north to south, with the west side of the property being used last. Do we have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder.
Yes.
Councilmember Studley.
Yes.
Supervisor Leary.
Yes. Okay, now we're going to move on. That concludes our pre-filed resolutions. We're going to move on to the presentation of communications by the town clerk. Okay, number 138, Planning and Zoning Committee. 139, received and filed. 140, received and filed. 141, Drainage Committee. 142, received and filed. 143, received and filed. 144, to Personnel. 145, Personnel. 146, received and filed. 147, received and filed. 148, resolution tonight. 149, Planning and Zoning Committee. 150, Planning and Zoning Committee. 151, Planning and Zoning Committee. 52 and 53 are also Planning and Zoning Committee. 154, received and filed. 155, Code Enforcement. 156, 157, and 158 are all Code Enforcement. 159 is a resolution tonight. 160, received and filed, as is 161, received and filed. 162, resolution tonight. 163, resolution tonight. And 164, received and filed. Okay. Now we're going to move on to persons who want to address the town board on any subject. The town board will hear the concerns of persons desiring to address the town board on any town of Lancaster subject for a total period of 30 minutes. The procedure is raise his or her hand and be recognized by the supervisor. Give his or her name and address to the town clerk. Speak directly to the town board members up here, not the audience, using the microphone provided. Speak once for 5 minutes or less, unless the town board grants the speaker an extension of this time limit. Mark, are you going to be doing the 5 minutes tonight? Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And last, we can't tolerate any kind of yelling, name-calling, or other unruly activity. If you do that, you will be asked to leave. Okay, do we have anybody who wants to address the town board on any matter? Yes, sir.
Greg Soika, 19 Spruceland Terrace. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor and members of the board. I am speaking as a resident of Lancaster who has for many, many years volunteered his time to enhance the lives of Lancaster's children. Many of us here tonight want to express our views about this town funding of the Boys and Girls Club issue, and so we should. Hopefully this meeting will have a positive outcome for the board, for the club, for the taxpayers, and above all for the children of Lancaster. This rather charged atmosphere seems to have in part stemmed from some confusion and innuendos, along with some rumors and assumptions. Throughout, there have been those who seem to have conflated rhetoric with truth, while others clearly have confused what has been done in the past with what should be done in the future. In that regard, I am sure that all reasonable people will agree that some modifications in the funding process are sorely needed. As a great man once said, an error does not become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. As I see it, this club funding issue should not be used as an excuse to divide or be political, but rather as a great opportunity to improve the Boys and Girls Club. To achieve that enhancement, I think what is vitally needed is transparency from both sides, because in the end, we all want the same things. A better club, which will spend tax dollars appropriately, while it provides a secure, safe, and enriching environment for the kids. In these circumstances, I can only speak to the board, but I hope that if the club leadership is present, these individuals will take advantage of their presence here tonight to respond in turn. With that said, Mr. Supervisor, can I confirm you requested financial information from the Boys and Girls Club and also about activities that go on at the Boys and Girls Club? On or about October 8th of 2024, some information was delivered to Town Hall to Judy Wozniak and emailed to Council Member Schroeder. It was incomplete from the request that was made. Approximately January or February of 2025, you, the town attorney, and some people from the Boys and Girls Club met to find things were not being done properly and lacking of information. It is now March of 2025. Has the Boys and Girls Club provided the requested information?
We have received a proposal from the Boys and Girls Club. The town responded to that one, and we received another answer to what we asked for at that point. That has been distributed to the entire board for review and to the town department heads who are involved in making a decision on this, and it will be reviewed sometime this week. Some people were out of town last week, so that's where it stands right now.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to be heard at this time? Please raise your hand. Yes. Okay, he had his hand up first. Okay.
All right, thank you. Tom Sweeney, 22 Ashwood Court in Lancaster. I do want to say, very sorry to hear about Dick Young's passing today. He was a very good friend, a mentor. His family dates back over 200 years in the village. What an incredible guy. I'm sure he's here with us tonight, so thank you for recognizing him. I've been here over the last 3 board meetings, and I haven't seen any resolutions come forth yet. We've been kind of waiting for that to see what the resolution is going to be. With regards to the funding, I'd be remiss, at the last meeting I've asked several board members, and I wanted to give Mark Burkhart the opportunity to know and to tell the community whether he did vote for the removal of the funding or whether he did not see that funding being removed.
Okay, at this point, again, it's up to the council member if he wants to do that or not, but this should be
100%.
directed in general.
I'll assume.
I'll answer it. With it, I did not see it in the budget myself. I must have oversaw it. I thought it was a status quo from last year. However, Mr. Leary went through with the finance, and, at this moment, legally, it was not being done correctly. I have no issues with looking at what we can fund, what we can give to the Boys and Girls Club, because at the end of the day, it is about the kids. But we also have to look back at past practices, where the money was being spent, and make sure moving forward, is it equipment, is it for programs, what is it being used for, so we're all on the same page and where that funding is going.
Yeah, understood. So thinking about that specifically, I've heard several times and in several forums, we've called out that the funding has either been illegal or against the New York State Constitution, as Bob, you've alluded to.
Yep.
There's several issues with that. It sounds like we do have a pretty serious problem. And Bob, you're probably most familiar with the annual audit. And I have not foiled it yet. I have not looked at it yet. This obviously had to come out in the audit in 2024 of the 2023's books, correct?
To my knowledge, I don't remember if this came out or not.
So we don't have any evidence of it being in the annual audit last year or in any past year that it was mishandled, it wasn't detected in some way during the audit. I mean, that's our tool that we would use to discover.
Our tool is any time that we find something and we have discussions with our town attorney and we find out that it wasn't being done properly, then we're going to go ahead and try to make some changes on that. So whether it was in the previous audit or not, I don't know if it was part of the audit or not. Was it even in there?
No, it did not come up as an audit finding, but in the audit, they select a sample size of different transactions, so this very well could have not been in the sample size selected.
Okay.
So I think it was kind of accepted that, it's okay to do it, but unfortunately, we found out that it's not. So now we're trying to act within the law of the state of New York, and at the same time, see what we can fund and move forward.
Yeah. And we're sitting here now, we're going into April. The next town board meeting is going to be in April. Obviously, the club's been without funding for a full 3 months, going into 4 months by the time we resolve this. It's going to take some time. At the end of the day, my summary state, I see 4 of the 5 council members here have admitted to not knowing that this is being removed. I don't know if anyone agrees or disagrees with that. obviously, all the council members are elected independently. You don't work for each other, nor do you work for Bob. Everyone has the ability to have their own voice heard, which I think is important. I would call on the council members that did not see this funding being removed in the next board meeting to call for a resolution that would restore this funding and actively work with the Boys and Girls Club to be able to get the proper reporting necessary. And then as we go forward in our community, we can work out the details of how that's reported, how much we have to cut. I know on the February 18th meeting, we heard that the budget is $3 million under, and we're having to use funds in reserve to be able to balance our books. You know, that's obviously concerning. The last, as I reviewed the budget itself, it looks like everyone got a 3%, pretty much got a 3% across the board raise in the midst of a $3 million underfunded budget. There's just a lot of concerns here that I think are important to address. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to address the town board? Kevin? Oh, I didn't see your hand.
Sorry, Kevin, I'll give you, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
David Reno, 15 Weathersfield Lane. I'd like to ask, what information, sir, did you ask for from that club?
For the books. Said in the agreement that we could take a look at
The books,
finances.
but that's pretty,
Finances.
the finances,
Yes.
how far into the, but is the problem, sir, is the general public does not know what you asked for specifically, and Tom has not specifically given any information either. The public is aware of what's going on, but we're not aware of what the problem is here and what information is not forthcoming from Tom. You sit on the board, Tom?
On the board, no.
So you represent...
Mr. Reno?
Mr. Sweeney is here representing the Boys Club. He hasn't brought any, and he's quizzing this board about things that the public doesn't understand because you're not telling the public what information specifically you asked for and what information you're negotiating about right now, sir. Why is that done behind closed doors?
The question of asking for the finances we've talked about numerous times so far. And basically what it is we asked to see where our funding was going to, and the only way to see that was to look at their finances. What were the years that we asked? Was it?
We received audited financial statements back to 2020.
Yeah, to 2020 is what we got, and we took a look at them, and what I saw in there right off the bat was very concerning. Our money was being intermixed with all the other funding that was coming in to the Boys and Girls Club, and that wasn't appropriate. We had to be able to see where that money was going to. So it was paying for salaries, benefits, all sorts of things that, you know, we did not think it was going to be going for. I don't know why other people didn't look at that previously, but we did take a look at it. Seemed inappropriate. Talked to the attorney about it. She said, yeah, you can't do that. We can't just give them a lump sum of money and, you know, let it be used that way. We have to be in charge of each of the different programs. For example, right now there is a basketball program that's running over there that was set up by the rec department, whereas it has town employees involved in it who are kind of running the program at this point. So again, that was perfect and, you know, for what we can do. So we got to look for different way of, you know, tracking our money, and our Director of Administration and Finance has offered to actually go over there and help them. You know, take a look at the books. He did that today. We had a visitor, I think it's related to the Boys and Girls Club. I sure hope used to be anyways. So we have offered to help them out in that regard. But again, for the finances, we have to be able to see where they're going. It's that plain and simple. We have to comply with New York State law. So based on what we saw from the 20 to 24, it wasn't being done properly as to where we could find where our money went to. So it was being spent on who knows what. And part of the agreement was also, if the money is being spent to purchase something, that the town owns whatever was purchased. So again, I don't know where it went. So right now our plan of attack is to try to figure out what the board wants to fund, but at the same time, Nick and I are going to take a look at the books and see specifically where our money went to. And it's done because most of the checks went out on a monthly basis. Shouldn't be that difficult to do. Money goes into a particular account, we can see where it was spent. So that's the plan of attack.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Hello, Kevin Leemester, 720 Schwartz. I want to first start with, I'd like to thank Diane, Lee Chwaniak, and Bob Leary, because this meeting's being recorded. It'll be in history, so anybody's answers in the future won't be done in the back room like it used to be. I've attended over 30 years, multiple meetings in that back room. And the past administration used to look at the press, which I'm really disappointed in even now, saying don't print that. So they wouldn't. They just ignored it, and the town board members let them get away with it. In regards to the Boys and Girls Club, it's amazing that none of the press ever call it what it is. It's a non-government organization. It is a corporation. It's a company. It's got nothing to do with anything else. It's very similar to the Greenfields, and it's also just like the Village of Lancaster Community Development Corporation, along with the Hall House. The only difference is two of them don't take any monies. There's supposedly no salaries. I only bring this up because the news never mentions that it's a profit, a non-for-profit 501c3 that is underneath New York State law. Normally you would get a request. I believe everybody gives a request normally. I have never in 30 years seen anything from the Boys and Girls Club where they requested money. It was always done under the table. Nobody knew about it. We had Dino Fedoli, I mentioned once before, tried to bring it up, and he was told by a town board member who had to leave in disgrace, you don't have the votes, which, of course, he was given the middle finger pretty much by the Boys and Girls Club people. I don't know, another thing is, I'm just wondering why, and our Youth Bureau does a beautiful job, it is a government agency, why are we hiring tutors when our school system should be doing it? And why can't they use the schools? We get beautiful basketball courts in the schools. We're paying a lot of taxes in the schools. This is, like I said, a private company. Based on the financial records from them, in 2017, the average hours worked, they had 17 people, and I have their names. They only work 1 hour. The kitchen, they spent $49,000 in the kitchen. Miscellaneous, $22,000. Telephone, 2017, $14,000. I wonder how many telephone calls they've made. So that was a total spent was $767,000. Then they spent another $11,000 on dues, and then they had another one on just marked as other for $14,000. In 2022, delinquency prevention support services, that's what they called the expense under, $785,000. Management in general, $98,000. Fundraising, $26,154. Their total expense was $910,000. They listed their public support at $889,000. The salaries were $458,000. Health and retirement, $33,000. Payroll and taxes, $60,000. Again, a telephone, $17,000. So if this corporation is using this money, and they're getting, let's say, cell phones and using them, and they're also using them for private use, and if they didn't claim it on their income tax, they might have a tax problem too, because that's, once again, it's something they shouldn't have been doing. And I'd like to know, we had grants, child and adult food program, $53,000. These were grants given to them. Cheektowaga Community Development Grant, $6,000. New York State Assembly, $85,000. Town of Lancaster, $245,000. So you're the biggest contributor out of everybody. I don't know why the Village of Lancaster Community Development Corp hasn't given them a nickel. It'd be interesting to see. Their hours, was there ever an audit done by any of the other past administrations from the state? I doubt it. So I think you should request a complete audit from the state. Their hours of operation, according to their website, 1 to 5:30 Monday through Thursday, 1 to 6:30 on Friday, closed Saturday and Sunday. So if you're really working and helping for the kids, I can't see where it's happening. And I really think the town should bring the state in. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else who wants to be heard at this point? In the back, in the red, I believe?
Hello, Patrick Booth, 78 Morano Drive, Depew. It's been an odd kind of few months here with this whole thing. And from my standpoint, I've lived in the area for about 20 years. My 3 children all came through the club, all played basketball at the club, went to summer camp at the club. So it holds a very dear part in my heart because of the way my family has indoctrinated into this community, and the club has been such a big part of it. Where the disconnect is for me is a lot of people these days, and we may shrug our shoulders, we may say, who cares, that's nonsense. A lot of people are getting their information from social media. And the club is getting dragged on social media. You have people with, this gentleman here talked about political agendas, are just furthering their political agendas on social media. You have a gentleman, a couple people actually, that are quoting that they're speaking to you directly, sir, and that the club is not providing what you're looking for. So if you could clearly state to these folks and everybody on YouTube that the club is cooperating with you and giving you everything you need, because I don't think it's fair that they're being accused of a lot of the stuff they do, because a lot of the stuff they do is good. And for the person that says salary can't be used, if they have, if I understand this correctly, if they have a specific project, let's say they have a summer camp that they're going to use that money as funding for, they can use that to pay the salaries for that funding. Is that not correct?
For the individuals involved in the particular...
Correct.
Yeah.
But not
then up to the top, not for the benefits. I mean, it's got to be specific to that particular class.
Correct. But we don't have any idea because we don't see these books, but a lot of people are making a lot of assumptions. So I'd really like to ask you, Mr. Leary, club is cooperating with you, correct?
The club is cooperating with us.
They've given you everything you've asked for to this point?
Well, I can't say that at this point. We're still going back and forth as to what we're looking for. That's all I can say. We're not going to negotiate here in the town board.
Understood.
But we have the dialogue back and forth.
Right.
And like I said, the last thing they sent us, it's been distributed to the board. They're reviewing it, and I'm going to review this with a few of our department heads later in the week. And then we'll obviously, get back to them again.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, I think we got time for one more person. We got one more person. Anybody? I can't see who it is back there, but, oh, okay.
Ron Giza, 61 Lombardi Street. Like last week I started off, I had a bunch of stuff. I know you guys got ongoing investigation or meetings and stuff, so I don't want to jeopardize anything. But I'm just, again, I think, end of last week, wow, what are we doing here? I just want to give you a little of what goes on, the intertwining of what this community is. I came in, I saw Brian Weil here. I mean, use your name, Brian, but back in the 80s, the high school, Len Jankwitz came to us. We took the high school football team cheerleader, came to the club on a Friday night, gave them a healthy, safe environment to come off the streets. We provided for them. And I coached your dad out of that club. I've coached other people's. I see Andreessen, Buffalo Joe came out of this program. We had a wrestling program that the rec runs, which was a successful. I was going to come in and talk about that, where we had a successful season this year. And it's the club works on the off season with this wrestling program. We had some kids come out of the wrestling program from the rec department that just placed in the states this week. So we had like 4 or 5 kids on the elementary, junior high level that placed in the states, which is feel good stuff. Hats up Bob Dro. I worked with Bob. Bob was great. We gave some nice T-shirts out. I think your kid came through that too. So I look at the intertwinings here of the community, and I listen to let's do something that's best for all. And it's I don't want to jeopardize anything going on, but we are all connected at the hip here. And I hope at the end of the day you guys find, I am disheartened to listen to some of the negatives of the club. My God, what are we doing here? We've got young kids back here. The reason I came was to represent them. Dave Hoke I've known for 45 years or better. He's not just a friend of his family. These are my family members here. I've known Coops. We just handed the baton off to Coops to be the director of the club. After a long going, Bob Gies, my dad was there, gave it to Hoke, Hoke gave it to Coops. And we're an institution here that's touched so many people here. I look in this room, and like I said, I look at the board, and I know I have people there too, and you're involved. Ryan, I went to, his father was the mayor of Lancaster. He was at Thousand Islands, traveled with us, used the club for many things. Just amazing that we're tearing this thing apart. I hear these things that Coop met with you back in October. My big problem that was you just came out, you weren't here last 2 weeks, but you didn't see it. You weren't told, when did the boys get told that they were cut? You guys didn't even know it was cut. The rec program that was running out of the club, I'm glad you looked into that, that started in January 1st. The program's cut, you're not giving any money, but you're still running programs out of there. Your board was unaware that the programs were even cut. That's the key thing too here, is the lack of disrespect and the negativity that you're bashing this club with. Decades and generations of incredible stuff that goes on here. And it's a shame. It's just, I'm sitting there, can't believe this. I hope you people up here, you got a tough job here, I get it. But my God, to listen to this bashing, dig further. And I hope you do listen to all this stuff, and I hope you do get all the information that you know, it seems that, again, back in October, you asked for something, they gave it. If there was a negativity, I would have wished somebody would have said, hey, look, there's a problem here, we're cutting you. Didn't happen that way. I looked on the town website, under government, it says go to budgets. I looked in the 2025 budget. I saw, not my website, the town website said 245,000 was in there. It went to zero, far right column, it said
Hang on a
minus
second.
1,000%.
I won't take away your rest of your time, but that's incorrect. It was not in there.
Well, no, I just went online. Under the town Lancaster, it said government. I looked government, went down to budget 2025. If you look the way it read, it's on page 28. You can go there, anybody?
Unfortunately, you look, it wasn't funded at that point. Okay.
No.
There were certain requests, and it was.
I get it, but at the far right column, it
But
did say
it
zero,
wasn't funded.
100% cut.
It wasn't, it wasn't funded. Again, you know, I'm not.
Something's been in there forever. Your board was unaware that it was cut. Wasn't brought to the Boys Club's attention until late January. Am I wrong here? Am I saying something wrong here in this? They weren't aware of it. You guys weren't aware it went to zero. Coops found out late January, beginning of February. No one told the club. If there was a problem back in January, I would hope you said, hey, look, not enough information. You know, hey, can you give us some more? We took you to zero. You'll find out when you find out. Again, you guys were already running programs out of January 1st with no funding to the club. And your rec department didn't know.
Funding and the agreement for that was from 2024, okay, for the basketball program. Started in 2024. It was agreed to, my understanding is, and Bob Giroux was here, he could back it up, that it was agreed to in 2024.
He was unaware
So
it was cut.
That, I'm sorry?
He was unaware that you cut the club.
Bob Giroux?
Yeah.
Without him here,
I get it.
I don't even.
Get it. I get it, guys. You know, we could dance. I've been there. Hey, all right. You know, it is what it is, you know. It is what it is, guys.
Thank you. All right, we got to go into executive session, so I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session, or if somebody could make a motion to go into executive.
Motion, go into
Okay,
executive.
do we have a second?
Second.
And on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder? Yes. Councilmember Studley? Yes. Supervisor Leary?
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Happy St. Patrick's Day. See you tomorrow.
Good time for you tomorrow, Nick.